Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Crypto Philanthropy. It's great to be back. We've had a couple weeks off here, so this is episode 8. Again, my name is Nick Mikhalevsky with The Giving Block, and joined as always by my colleague Pietro. Moran. Pietro, good to see you again.
It's great to be back. I hope everybody enjoyed their holidays, but we've got plenty to catch you up on, and I hope everyone's having a great week so far.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump right in. We've got a lot to talk about over the next coming episodes. We'll kind of catch you up on everything that's been happening, but let's just go ahead and jump right in. So we'll do crypto price check. We'll talk about some donation trends that we're seeing. And of course, we'll go into our crypto news update. As a reminder, we are getting to the point where we are starting to wind up our $500 in Bitcoin when you get started with the Giving Block. So scan the QR code, get in while you can. It's something that's going to be going away soon. So with that, Pietro, what's happening in the markets right now?
Yeah, so since we took a week off on the show last week, we've had quite a few developments on the price side. In general, I'd say it's been categorized by like the summer slowdown. A lot of people in finance talk about going to the beach and coming back in September. So the market's taken a bit of a breather. Bitcoin's sitting right around 59,000 as of this morning. And part of that, I know we've been reporting for I'd say most of the lifetime of the show, of Bitcoin being near 70K or in the 60Ks. I think that's pretty standard, just like choppy price action. Nothing too exciting is going on. People are kind of taking a break from the financial markets, waiting and seeing. But some of the macroeconomic data has also been really productive. As of this morning, we saw some inflation numbers come down, which is what we like to see, which is good for everybody. Inflation's been kind of a theme for quite a while. And crypto also trades in relation to some of these assets. So I mentioned Bitcoin's at 59K, Ethereum's right around 3,200. Ethereum's held up pretty well, actually. One reason being there are rumors and musings that the Ethereum ETF is going to be launching here in the next week or two. I think we reported that on the last show. And what's really exciting about that is it's another product that's going to be available in that sort of traditional financial context via your brokerage, 401k, and other self-directed plans, as well as with your financial advisor. So Ethereum's actually seeing quite a bit of uptick. The rest of the top 10 that we have here on the board, pretty flat, pretty muted price action, but expectations are that the summer stays a little bit quiet, but no, I would say, structural change in the bullishness of crypto overall from like a big trend perspective.
Yeah, fantastic. And still a lot of tailwinds that are in the crypto industry sales. And what hasn't been, kind of muted are the crypto donation trends that we've been seeing. So if we just kind of move on to the next slide, the donation trends, want to do a few things here. So just to give everybody a little bit of a recap, I mean, when we think about crypto and when investors think about crypto, the general public thinks about crypto, Bitcoin is still on top of the mind share for investors, for donors, and that's the same thing that we continue to see. So on the major gift side, Bitcoin's still dominating the major gifts and crypto donations that we're seeing right now. Similar to what we saw last year, stablecoins also very popular with donors, USDC and Tether's USDT. And just wanted to pick a few of the major gifts that we saw coming through over the last week or two. You can see here on the list, a lot of great organizations, a lot of great programming that's really popular with donors. Wanted to call out a couple things here. As you can see, about halfway down the list, Mental Health Org receiving a $22,000 gift of stock. So as a reminder for anyone out there that might have a little bit more of like a manual process, or maybe there's just an email address or a phone number for people to call to donate, really start to take a look at, some of those automated ways to give. If you've got people that like to do that, fantastic. Keep them in there. But we're for the under 50 or under 40 crowd that likes using these automated giving options, we're seeing some really great gifts that are coming through. And of course, the conversion rates on that really, really high. And then in addition to the kind of support that we provide, aside from the automated ways to give, you can actually work with us directly as well. And we have a lot of donors that actually come to the Giving Block saying, hey, we'd love to make a donation to a certain organization or this type of organization. And right underneath that mental health org, you can see that we had an addiction recovery org get a $20,000 donation via our private donor services. And again, those are other colleagues of Pietro and myself that can really help donors through a donation process, walk them through it live, one-on-one. It's fantastic for donors. They start to learn the process. It's a great way to preserve that relationship, and especially for nonprofits, great way to provide another level of white glove service for those really important relationships to continue stewarding, those donors through something like this. So fantastic. And of course, you can kind of see the other donations that have come through. At the bottom there, another university in the UK getting a nice $5,000 gift. Got a lot of great programming for anybody listening in the UK. So if you'd love to join our UK cohort of clients, it's a lot of great programming that we do for the UK market. But really, to wrap things up at the bottom of the slide there, this is really the main theme here. Q2, which we just wrapped up in 2024, seen a huge trend over Q1. I mean, almost doubling in terms of the crypto donations that we've been seeing coming in. And this really continues to reinforce this trend of crypto philanthropy that we see surging. And I wanted to sort of end the slide there because it's a great lead in to our crypto news update. And the first piece there that we want to highlight is one of the Giving Block's co-founders, Pat Duffy, wrote a great op-ed in CoinDesk. CoinDesk, if you're not familiar, one of the crypto industry's preeminent news outlets. And as you can see on the screen there, we'll put a link in the show notes. The title of the piece was "Why Crypto Donations Are Surging in 2024." And again, this continues to reinforce everything that we thought we'd start to see in 2024 and in terms of the donation numbers, and that's absolutely what's bearing out. Wanted to just quickly call out one section of the piece because I think this really kind of encapsulates everything that we're kind of seeing going on, and I encourage you to check it out. Let me read this quote, and I'll read it verbatim in the piece. So the quote is, "If anyone thinks that this is simply business as usual, meaning crypto philanthropy, you're sorely mistaken. Crypto philanthropy is back in a big way. And what makes this surge unique is the diversity of giving modalities driven by much more than the price of Bitcoin, ETH, and so on. The current Web3 charitable giving trends were built during the last bull cycle, battle tested, and optimized through the bear market. And now we're reaching maturity as the market approaches a period expected to shatter previous all-time highs." And so the TLDR there is, couldn't have put this better. The organizations that have opened this door for donors and have been continually communicating with donors are reaping the benefits of that familiarity, that awareness. People have a lot of crypto they can give. They're so tax optimized to do so. They know the organizations they want to give to. So again, if you want any more strategies on how to do that, please reach out to us. We've got a lot of great tools for you. But that's going to do it for me on the first piece of news. I've been talking for a long time. Pietro, I want to kick it back over to you on the other news that's been happening in the industry.
Absolutely. Got two things here I wanted to touch on, but speaking of our co-founders here at the Giving Block, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our other co-founder, Alex Wilson, also just did a podcast with Ministry Brands. That's something we'll throw in the show notes as well for anybody who wants to take a look. So as you've been talking about sort of the donation trends, Nick, right? A lot of the things we see are nonprofits that are helping across, a few of the more, let's just say, sectors that come to mind initially when it comes to, assisting with like food and refugees and, aid distribution across the world and domestically. One thing that we talk about, but maybe doesn't get enough light, is the fact that we work with our faith-based organizations as well. One thing I just wanted to throw out there is that podcast was super informative, and it was, topical and top of mind because I just listened to it. But it was a great insight into how we're servicing the faith-based sector as well, for folks to be able to give more easily to the places that are near and dear to them from a faith perspective. So we'll link to that in the show notes. It was a great, insightful 25 or so minute podcast, really educational. I found it to be, really interesting because I think the trends in the faith-based sector versus, say, traditional 501c3s may be different. So if that's something that appeals to you, we'll link to that and we'll let Alex do the talking since he's certainly an expert there. As for crypto news, I've got a couple things to mention. And the theme really on these two pieces is finance meets technology, meets distribution and Main Street for what we're seeing to be this sort of like worldwide trend towards being more into crypto, more accessibility, et cetera. So number one is we're seeing Goldman Sachs announcing that they're launching 3 tokenization initiatives. We don't have the full scope of what those 3 things are going to be. But what this means to me is like they're willing to plant their flag in crypto and say we're looking at tokenized different pieces of our business or maybe different offerings. So obviously for folks who are listening, right, who might be familiar with crypto tokens like Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, USDC, all the rest of them, the technology enables quite a few things, right? And the form factor of using blockchain technology can be leveraged in many other, say, non-obvious use cases. So we're really excited to see that, large name brands like Goldman Sachs on sort of Wall Street are advancing kind of their exploration into the space, maybe through research development and new product offerings. So more to come on that, but I just thought it was interesting. The other thing I wanted to mention, this is out of Japan. Sony is actually launching a crypto exchange. So folks might be familiar with Sony for their electronics products, right? If you have a PS5 or if you use, I remember like Walkmans back in the day, right? Just a conglomerate that does a bunch of different things is getting into crypto through a subsidiary that they acquired. And, that was really, an interesting headline to me because it just says that some of these businesses where their core competency isn't crypto, they're not a crypto first business, are starting to adopt crypto in a new way. And I think just the proliferation that we're going to see with name brands that are household names getting into the space is just going to get people more comfortable. So that's really the wrap up on sort of industry updates for us. I think ultimately it's just going to be one of those cycles where we're seeing a lot more traditional involvement in crypto. But now that we've seen, huge inflows with the ETF products and traditional products for investors, we may see more exploration kind of across the curve of like what the technology enables. And philanthropy is part of that, right? So Pat summarized it really well in his article, and I invite anybody to read that. But I think we're just going to be reporting more stuff like this, and it's exciting because it won't be too niche anymore. It'll be like, things that we can all address and feel like we can recognize. So that's the update on the news. I'll kick it back to you, Nick, for any closing thoughts. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the blending of crypto and sort of traditional space is just becoming, much more intertwined, something we're going to continue to see. There's a lot that's coming through our rails right now. We're starting to get ready for our programming towards year-end giving. So the next episodes will start to dip into that. So get ready for the next set of episodes coming down the pike. They're going to be fantastic, and I'm sure filled with a lot of great insights. So with that, on behalf of Pietro and the rest of the Giving Block team, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.